Hello, I'm Kelly.
And I'm Jeremy.
Today we will be talking about the innovations, both military and non military, of the Byzantine Empire.
So here we have the Byzantine Empire, the map of it, and as you can see, there's three different outlines. The first outline is the thin line, and it indicates the area of the Byzantine Empire where at the time under the rule of Justinian the First, which was from 527 to 565 AD, and you can see as the empire progresses, it gets smaller, it starts shrinking. The second on the key, we can see the light red shade is the empire in about 1020, and the bright red shade is the empire during about 1360. So it's getting smaller and smaller as it's progressing. So the first innovation that we see is the aqueducts that they built, and so the empire at the start was built very far away from water, and as we can see throughout history, water is a very major factor for empires to flourish, and so it was very difficult for them, and they had to come up with a way for them not to be able to have to travel so far away to be able to get fresh, clean water, as the enemy could use the tactic of waiting for them to go out and in need of water, and then they could have attacked them then. So what they did, they invented aqueducts, as we can see in the picture. And what they used is they had stabilizers at the bottom, and they used arcs to build up the wall, and so the water could run all the way from the mountain directly to the city, which was very innovative. The aqueducts were impressive. They still exist today, and they would travel as far as 150 kilometers to get to the city. And this had major effect because it allowed the city to have clean, safe water without the trouble of having to go look for it. It was just coming straight to their doorstep. In addition, they had a storage underneath the city where spare water could be stored for emergencies if anything ever happened to the aqueducts. And the next innovation is the Hagia Sophia, and this was originally built as a cathedral in Constantinople. It was the empire Justinian at the time was having trouble in popularity, and there were people were not happy with him. They were looking to overthrow him, and he put in charge two architects, and Anthemius and Isidori of the elders. They were actually professors of maths and physics, so it was quite an interesting appointment because they had no experience with actually building. They were just well educated in theory, and so they did end up building it in 6 months because he was in desperate need to show his authoritativeness and power, which he would be able to do through the building. And we can see this, and the method they use is they use pendatives, and they use them to be able to stabilize the dome, which was very massive, as you can see in the next photo. It was able to. This method was a very wise choice, as it was able to hold such a large area. However, because it was built so quickly, it did collapse later on, and Isidorus was able to pick up the pieces and fix that by increasing the height of the dome, so making it the angle higher, which helped the new dome to stabilize better.
The Hippodrome of Constantinople was the main sporting and social center of the city. It was able to hold 100,000 spectators, even more, and because of this, it brought in a lot of people from the city. Here in this arena area, they held events such as horse and chariot racing. Let's see, the area also was filled with statues of gods and empires. Each team that raced was financially supported and sponsored by a different political party. It was one of the first. It was one of the first structures built that brought attention to Constantinople. It was also a symbol for which the emperor built so that he would be remembered by. And then, as you can see, it was oval in shape and held a lot of people. And then, moving forward, the pointed arch bridge was also a major innovation of the Byzantine Empire. The bridges began to be built around the 5th and 6th century. What was so special about the pointed arch bridge was the fact that it had a pointed arch. Because of that arch, it made the bridge more stable, and the crown was less able to cave in, and therefore it made it less dangerous. Because it was more stable, it added more space to the city, so chapels and shops were built onto the bridge. Also, towers were built on there, and it was also used as a defense mechanism in a way because it was higher up, and the Byzantine Empire was able to look farther out. And then, as you can see, the pointed arch in the center, which is stabilizing the bridge. The three-wall defense system was one of the greatest military innovations of the Byzantine Empire. For one, the three-wall initially, the Byzantine Empire created a single wall system, and it was surrounding the city, and it was used for protection against invaders. However, Constantinople started to attract more enemies, and because of this, the single wall system wasn't very efficient anymore. Therefore, they had to create something that was able to keep out invaders even more. Therefore, they decided to create a three-wall defense system, and each layer around the city had, you can see in this picture that the wall had 3 layers to it. So it was harder for invaders to, if they got past one part in the wall, it was harder to get past the others, especially since it rose in height each time it went into the city, even more so. And there's a zoomed up picture of the wall. As you can see, it gets higher up. There are little towers at the top to which the soldiers could see out if any invaders were coming.
And so once the wall was built, that prevented any enemies being able to attack them on land. So that sorted the land enemy problem, and now it was a matter of turning to enemies and threats that came from the sea. And to overcome this, the empire came up with the idea to build a massive chain, and it was basically, the chain was 2 football field lengths. It was a very large chain, and it was placed on wooden planks in order for it to float. And so the way it worked is that the chain was able to be lowered when they wanted people to come in to the harbor, and if they needed to go out, as obviously they would need to go out into the sea to be able to trade goods and keep increasing the empire's riches. But at the same time, if ships or an enemy threatened them from the sea, they were able to raise the chain, blocking off the harbor entrance completely. So that with that taken care of, they were able to secure the empire both from enemies on the land with the wall and the sea with the barrier chain. And with this, it just flourished, the empire's riches, and it just kept growing because they were able to dictate who they were able to trade with. And so if they didn't want to trade with the person they came, or they felt threatened, they just simply raised the chain to prevent them from coming in. And another major factor that helped the empire is that they were in such a great location between the two worlds, the Western world and the Europeans, and that the trading route for whoever was going either way, they had to stop through the Byzantine Empire. So they got all the goods, the best goods from the traders first before they could move on to whoever they wanted to trade with next. And this helped the empire.
So a few defense military innovations included the counterweight and hand trebuchet, the grenade, and the Greek fire. I will first talk about the counterweight and hand trebuchet. It almost acted as a modern-day catapult. It was designed and invented during the Middle Ages. And how it worked was there would be, for the counterweight at least, there would be a payload at the end of the trebuchet. And then when it was released, the counterweight was so heavy and forceful so that when it was flung, it used projectile motion. And this is why physics was very important back then. And so when the counterweight was flung across, it was able to break down structures, get to the enemy from far away instead of having to fight them up close. This was very important because the Byzantine Empire was now able to attack from far away and could keep their men safe and did not have to be up close and up front. And then the grenade was made out of a hollow mold. It first appeared in the reign of Leo III. It was filled with a mixture of petroleum, and it was designed to be charged with an incendiary material. So it was the basis for Greek fire, which was another innovation that we will describe later on. But basically, the grenade also mimics modern-day grenades, and it was also very important because of the same idea that soldiers from the Byzantine Empire were now able to attack invaders from far away. All they had to do was throw the grenade, and they were able to cause an explosion, and enemies were now losing limbs and were not able to fight up close like they were used to. The Greek fire was also a major innovation.
And so the Greek fire, what it was a sticky liquid flame which was used in battles, both on the field and in naval. It was probably more effective in naval just because with ships you're not able to get, you can only fight the enemy when you're so close to them. And with the Greek fire, which was basically like a flamethrower, they were able to use that to attack ships from distance.
Yes. So as you can see, the Byzantine Empire, they were able to create many different inventions and innovations that truly contributed to their reign and their stability as an empire in general. You have all of the military innovations that helped keep away invaders and were able to increase their military and strength, but then there were also non-military innovations such as the structures of the Hagia Sophia and the Hippodrome that just made the city more attractive and incorporated structure, like unique structures, and that a lot of people were not used to and have never seen before, like the pendatives and the huge oval shape that was able to hold many people, which the city of Constantinople was never able to before. So the Byzantine Empire began to flourish quickly with all these innovations.
And
Yeah.